morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, wherever and whenever you are joining us. Welcome to our latest edition of What Caught My Eye, or WCME Sports. As always, I'm joined by the boy, Stephen Vesci, and the man, Stephen Comlow.
What up?
I am your host, the coach, Nick Vesci. If you're new to our program, we like to think of ourselves as the sports show for sports fans about sports. We like to focus on the main things that happen inside the lines of competition and none of the outside noise that dominates much of our sports headlines nowadays. Now, before we get started, just a reminder to follow us on all of our social media. That's on X, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, TikTok, Snapchat, and Threads at WCME_sports. We also have a website, WCMEsports.com, and our episodes drop every Wednesday at noon on Spotify, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. And again, all that information can be found on our website, WCMEsports.com. Now, without further ado, we'll get into our top catch for the week. And this week, we're going to look at the NBA and NHL drafts, right? So they timed theirs up pretty good. So those drafts happen right after the season's done, after a champion's been crowned. So they carry that momentum into it, and they go right into their free agency frenzies that they have. So both leagues do a pretty good job of that. I'm going to start with the NBA draft. Cooper Flagg from Duke went number 1 overall to the Dallas Mavericks. Pretty much no surprise there. Yeah.
By the way, did you see the second was it the commissioner was like announcing the pick or whatever, the fans started chanting like it's rigged? which leads me to my next point. Doug, when we had Doug hosting, it was me, Doug, and Comlo, he was all over that. He was like, he's like, put my tinfoil hat on. This conspiracy theory is like, it's rigged. There's no way they didn't get it without help.
I mean, it doesn't look good, especially with the NBA's track record of not so savory business dealings. And now we have a latest gambling scandal embroiling the NBA about like prop bets with a certain player. I think it's Malik Beasley, I think. But yeah, so it's none of that stuff looks good or helps. And I do love a good tinfoil hat conversation. Cooper Flagg went number 1, like we said, no surprise to the Mavericks. Dylan Harper, no surprise as well, went number 2 to the Spurs. A couple other notes here. The Nets had 5 first-round picks, but took 4 guards out of those first-round picks. Those 4 guards are very similar, right? But I will say it, though, they are big, raw European guards. So they're big guys who handle the ball, proficient at it. Some of these guys like 6'6", 6'8". And I think Igor Demine that they got out of BYU's from Russia. I believe he's a 6'8" point guard.
That guy's really good.
Right? Yeah, so they got guys that are good. Obviously, they're in the first round of the NBA draft, right? But that was kind of the news is you had 5 picks, and you could have picked a whole starting lineup and said you put 4 point guards in a center.
Basketball now is positionless.
Yes. That's
right. You don't necessarily need your center. They did go with every single European guy. Holy shit.
Yeah. But then there's centers, Danny Wolf from Michigan. a Ivy League transfer, who I actually really like the pick. You watch him and you could see that he had like a certain knack, a certain skill that was different from the people around him. But it's hard to see apart when you're in college and so dominated by colleges. But no, so thought that was interesting with the Nets doing that. Your boy Javon Small from
West by God, Virginia,
went number 48 overall to the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies also recently signed Ty Jerome to a 3-year deal from
UVA. I saw that. That was interesting.
Very interesting. Illinois had back-to-back players taken in the first round. Jacob Yakashonis at number 20 to Miami, and Will Riley at number 21 to the Zards. Max Shulga from VCU, the Atlantic 10 Player of the Year, was taken number 57 overall, which had been the second or third to last pick by the Boston Celtics. The Jazz took Dylan Harper's Rutgers teammate Ace Bailey with, I believe, the 7th or 8th pick, and then he
was the 5th pick.
5th? I thought he was.
I'm looking at it right here. He was the 5th pick.
Well, whatever. And then they also took Walter Clayton, hero from the national champion Florida Gators team, in the first round. And in the second round, they took John Tonji from...
Walter Clayton traded to Utah. Okay, yeah, gotcha.
John Tonji from...
It's Wisconsin.
Thank you. In the second round. And then this last thing I have here, do you know the only school ever, it's still the only school ever, to have back-to-back number 1 picks taken in the NBA draft? So, like...
Is it West Virginia with, like, Jerry West and, like... Hot
It is
Rod
not.
Hundley or something.
That's a good guess because West Virginia actually has
We do
had
have
two number one overall
picks.
picks. Yes. Now, the only school ever, it's what number one pick this year, number one pick the next year. Do you know the only school still?
Is it a blue blood? Like, should I know this like right
No.
away? If I say like Kentucky,
No, you probably can't even spell their name. They're that obscure. But I promise you, you know this name. They won a game in the NCAA tournament last year for like the first time since these people were drafted in like the 50s. Think
you got. There's no way.
Is it like? Go ahead.
It is Duquesne.
Duquesne?
Really?
Duquesne out of Pittsburgh.
I believe, out of Pittsburgh, yes. I believe it was like 56 and 57 or 57, 58, something in the 50s.
Duquesne is the only one
Only
with
school.
back-to-back
number one overall picks.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, that's a really good stat. With Harper and Ace Bailey being drafted 2 picks in the top 5, you would think, wow, Rutgers must have been really good. They probably went to the Final Four, right?
Nope. Losing record.
Yeah. How bad is the rest of your fucking team?
I know they have a good coach too, and Steve Peichel.
How do you have 2 top 5 picks, guards in a guard-heavy college?
So what's interesting is that was the biggest knock on like both of those guys was that like the physical skills,
everything,
all
right?
the things that like they passed on the charts, right? But then it was that question of, okay, these 2 guys are so good. How in God's name did you have a losing record in college? Yes, you're playing in the Big Ten, right? Gauntlet of a conference. I get that. But you're right. Like, there's only one other team in the country that had 2 top 5 picks, and that was Duke. Because Kneppel, I believe, went number 4 to Charlotte.
Yes. He was it 4? Yes, it was 4.
So, yes, no, that is a valid question. And interesting because, you know, we've had like Anthony Edwards, right? He went to Georgia for the year. I think they had a losing record, but it was just him on the team, right? It's freaking Georgia. They're terrible.
Right. Georgia was terrible. And it was like, oh man, who's this guy?
But you would think that if Anthony Edwards had another lottery pick on his team, they wouldn't have had a losing record.
You would like to think so.
But yeah.
I mean, in a sport where 2 guys should be able to carry you pretty far.
Yeah.
It's a sport that it's the most like individual like carrying of a team, right? Like
individual
one person makes the most impact in basketball, right? You only have 5 other players on your or 4 other players on your team. So one person can have the biggest impact in the sport of basketball as opposed to every other sport.
Yeah. Even baseball. Because in theory, right, baseball could be one person, but there's still so many, like you said, there's so many other people on the team. Yeah, a pitcher who was hitting. Ohtani theoretically could win.
But you saw Ohtani and Mike Trout, 2 Hall of Famers, 2 of the best talents to ever step foot on a baseball field, couldn't make the postseason.
Yeah, no, thought that was interesting. Any other news and notes from the NBA draft that you wanted to highlight?
What about the guy? What was his name? Colin Murray Boyles. Did you see that? He was the guy that he got drafted by the Raptors 9th overall, and he stood up and went, "Fuck."
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. Yes, he stood up and like was buttoning his like jacket and just went
into like turn to his like girlfriend or something, and it's just like, fuck.
Yeah, do you think he wanted to go to Toronto?
No, that's pretty funny.
Wasn't there one other Ace Bailey to the Jazz? There's been a lot of drama with him after he got picked.
I think that was all fabricated by the media to have a story because there was lack of a story at the top because it was Cooper Flag and everyone knew that. So I think, I think it's easy, like we just said, right? It's easy to create that story because of the fact that he and Dylan Harper were both on Rutgers and couldn't even have a winning record, and so it's tabloid fodder. But I will say that one of the other big things I know NBA talking heads brought up is the trade by the Pelicans to move up to grab Derek Queen from Maryland, who we really like. I think he's fantastic. I have no issue with him being picked there, but the issue that a lot of people have is that the Pelicans gave up an unprotected first-round pick next year. So in theory, that pick, if it were to win the lottery next year, whoever they trade, the Hawks, right? The Hawks would get the number 1 overall pick. Then they would get their first round pick as well. So that unprotected pick, even though, again, in theory, that could also be the last, like the 16th pick, right? But it being unprotected has like technically unlimited potential. So it's seen as such a valuable asset, especially for a team like New Orleans, who's probably going to be in the lottery next year, regardless of what happens. So
Yeah.
a lot of pundits in the NBA are roasting them over that, saying that they give up way too much just to move up 10 spots to get a player that's 13 overall. Like, you're not moving up, you're not using that pick to move up to get like the, Dylan Harper, right? You're using it to get someone else. And especially when they had the 7th overall pick that they could have used on Queen as well. But kind of like we've talked about before with the NFL draft, if it's your guy, it's your guy, right? If you have true belief in it, right? Because it can work out, because there's precedent for it. Like the Suns did that to move up to take Mikal Bridges, who, yes, they wound up trading to the Knicks, but Mikal Bridges has been fantastic since he's gotten in the league. So that value worked out in their favor for what they got in return. It's just extremely risky. So I guess that's why a lot of pundits aren't in favor of it. But again, Derek Queen could turn out to be a freaking stud, and no one's going to care about that.
Yeah.
In the coming years. And again, you're also playing percentages that, all right, let's just say that pick doesn't win the lottery next year and it's the 12th overall pick. It hurts, but it doesn't hurt as much. So there's a lot of risk with it. And it's interesting for a league that seems in a lot of ways not risk averse, as in they are willing to take risks and flyers on people and players, that is garnering so much attention. I personally don't have the biggest issue with it. It is a lot to give up. I think they gave up another pick too, right? But they got their guy. They got their guys. So we'll see what New Orleans does. I think Joe Dumars is now the GM, former architect of those Pistons championship teams, I believe. Not the city planner.
Owns.
You forgot it's about the cones.
Mm-hmm. So
I think
we'll see how that works out for the Pels.
I think my favorite thing to come out of the draft was Mark Sears getting picked by the Bucks.
Did he get picked?
Yeah, he got picked. I think it was like 5th overall or something like that.
No. Mark Sears didn't get picked 5th overall.
He got picked. I know the Bucks signed him to like a 2-way contract.
He got
picked. Yeah, I don't think he got picked.
I don't no, he did not. I think
he didn't?
No.
All those Alabama guys, interestingly enough, didn't get picked.
No, I'm surprised Grant Nelson didn't get picked.
His size.
I'm surprised.
See, like that's what Sam Decker type player.
See, that's what I thought would be like the criticism on Mark Sears, is that he's not a big dude.
Well, neither is Jace Richardson. Who got
I was happy to see him, because the last 2 years I've loved watching Mark Sears light up March Madness. That's a fun dude to watch. So I'm glad he's getting his shot. I think that's probably my biggest takeaway from, like, I guess not the draft, but draft season.
So
rather.
It's interesting when we talk about guys getting picked and not getting picked. Remember, Austin Reeves of the Lakers was undrafted, and he went undrafted by choice because he slipped far enough into the second round that he was like, I'd rather not get picked, sign a 2-way contract of where I want to go. And that's how he ended up with the Lakers. So you wonder how many of these guys are in that boat, right? Like Max Shulga, who got picked by the Celtics, on a lot of big boards wasn't slated to get drafted. It was a long shot for him to get drafted. But you wonder if a team like the Celtics draft him because the other people they were going to draft wouldn't have wanted to sign or be there, and told them, hey, don't pick me because I prefer to be a free agent.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
It is wild that they do that. I wonder if the NBA draft's been 2 rounds for so long. I wonder if they add a third round to try to alleviate some of that.
It's not a bad idea. It's just, God, the NBA, it's so hard to crack that roster spot.
There's just so few people.
It's so ridiculously hard. By the way, before we move off the NBA draft, you know who Ace Bailey's mother played for?
Who?
West Virginia University.
Did she really?
Yeah.
Wow.
She was a big deal.
Some good stock right there. Moving on to the NHL draft, the New York Islanders had the first overall pick, I think, for the first time since they took John Tavares, probably close to 20 years ago. Yeah. And also remember other notable Islander first overall picks, Dennis Potvin, but also Rick DiPietro. So the Islanders had a mixed history with that. But the Islanders took defenseman Matthew Schaefer with that first overall pick. They also had 2 more first-round picks at number 16 and number 17, and took Swedish forward Victor Eklund and defenseman Keyshawn Atchison in those 2 slots, respectively. San Jose, they had the number 1 pick last year, took Macklin Celebrini. This year had the number 2 overall pick. They took center Michael Misa, and then they took goalie Joshua Ravensbergen at 30 overall at the end of the first round. Pittsburgh and Nashville.
Ravensburg.
I know, it's awesome, right?
That's a sweet name.
Pittsburgh and Nashville also ended up with 3 first-round picks. The Pens took center Benjamin Kindle. right wing Bill Zonin, and center William Horcroft, who I believe is related to Sean Horcroft, former NHL player. I want to say it might be like a nephew thing. Don't quote me on that. At numbers 11, 22, and 24, respectively. And the Preds took center Brady Martin, defenseman Cameron Reed, and right winger Riker Lee at 5, 21, and 26, respectively. Your Washington Caps, Kamla, took left winger Lyndon Lakovich at pick 24. I thought, interestingly, in the first round of the 32 picks, I believe, again in the first round, 9 of those 32 picks were 6'4" or taller.
Holy shit!
They're a ton of size. One of the guys, I don't know if it was the first or second round, but it's a 6'6" kid from China, highest drafted person from China in NHL history. 6'6", apparently can skate out the arena. And then the last thing I have here.
Is that Aiden Park?
No. The last thing is about Aiden Park. Aiden Park is American, I believe. His uncle or dad is former Islander great Richard Park. I don't know if you remember him. But Aiden Park was taken with the second to last pick in the draft by Edmonton. He was only in attendance because he lives down the street in LA, and he had friends who were working the event. So he just decided to show up, like hang out. Didn't think he was going to get picked. That's why he was just whatever sitting in the back. And his name gets announced, and he goes, uh-oh. Goes up to the stage. He's wearing a hoodie and shorts because
hell yeah.
He's like, I'm just here to be here.
That's so hockey.
He had to take the hoodie off, put the jersey on.
That's so hockey.
Hilarious.
It sounds like one of those just like puck bros that shows up to like first day of college, just like, hey, what's up, buddy? Like fucking faggot of fat Zen on the upper deck. But no, the NHL draft was good. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I get super excited about draft season for the NHL, but like NHL draft and NBA draft, in my opinion, it's just like it's not really that watchable compared to like the NFL draft. And we've talked about it before where, you know, the NFL draft, those players have, I think, the most realistic shot to be impact starters or role players, whereas like, you know, hockey, not so much. Basketball, Stevie, you were just talking about how hard it is to crack that like starting roster spot or even be a bit like an off the bench player. So I get super excited just to see what teams do. And like, I do enjoy like picking out like winners and losers of hockey drafts, but it's one of those things where you don't know. You don't know until the very end. I was
about to ask how many of these guys are going to be playing next year.
I mean, though most of them will probably be AHL guys, but like, I mean, and I'm sure this sentence has probably been said a lot of times. Nick, you highlighted all the first round picks and first overall picks that they've had. But I mean, the Islanders, I thought they drafted spectacularly, but it's the Islanders in 2025, you know?
Suck.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, I do know that two teams that got decimated in the headlines were the Blackhawks and the Penguins.
You can name a team that?
Good one.
And that's all the time we have for tonight's show.
Yeah.
And we're off.
Jesus Christ. The hockey team out of Chicago.
Yeah, the toll.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun watch. I mean, we'll see what happens. But really, I think like the NHL like headlines are like pretty much made by their free agency signings because their free agency and off season technically started on Monday.
Yeah. Any other news and notes, boy, from either draft?
No, I got nothing left.
All right. So we're gonna move on to our three strikes for this week, where each of us highlight something notable. So Kamlo, give us strike one. What do you got?
Yeah. So just immediately segueing into what I was just talking about, you know, it's the signings in the offseason for the NHL that really get me jacked up. You know, it allows me to kind of keep my Stanley Cup high a little longer, right? It's kind of just me clinging on to hockey for just as long as possible before it's just baseball until football starts up. But so the big one that came out was Mitch Marner signing a massive deal with Toronto and then getting traded to Vegas, right? He signed an 8-year, $96 million deal. He got traded
first.
I thought I saw a lot of mixed reports and I kind of just went with what I saw.
Because he was traded before he hit free agency, which is how he was able to sign the deal. Like I thought he got traded to Vegas, and because it was before free agency, he inked that deal.
I saw a lot of people reporting that he was signed and then traded. But I don't know, whatever.
I don't know if they have the cap space to do that, to stay in compliance for that, like, 6 hours.
Yeah. Well, so anyways, Marner leaving allowed Toronto to ink a deal and keep Tavares. It allows them to sign, and I'm going to butcher this name. You Italians might do better. Maccelli from Utah.
Spell it.
Yeah. No, that's how it's supposed.
Maccelli.
Sure, I'm sure he goes by Maselli because it's North
Michelli.
Americanized,
Yeah.
but that's
Mac.
pronounced correct. Yeah. Mac from
Maccelli.
South Philly.
Well, it's your name.
Yeah, Mac had a great year in Utah, career year for him. Toronto picks him up day one.
They also re-signed Matthew Nyes, didn't they?
Yes, they did. And so the big deal, I think, like, this is kind of a win-win for everyone. It allows Toronto, I think, to kind of diversify their roster. Marner gets his big deal. And then we talked about this a lot, especially during playoff time. We, as Americans, are now going to get to see one of the great player in more televised games, right? We're going to see Mitch Marner lacing him up for Vegas, who, since their inception, has been playoff contenders. So I'm excited to see him playing for an American team.
It is kind of funny after, like, the last clip of him in the postseason is him yelling to his teammates to wake the fuck up.
Yeah.
At Game 7 when they were getting absolutely stomped. And then he gets traded. That seems like an absolute Toronto. Maybe he wanted to get out of there.
He was on the block around trade deadline time, and we were having people were having this conversation around this time last year that they thought Marner was going to get dealt last year. There were a lot of Toronto fans that were surprised and kind of happy that he got another year with the team, but they were all obviously worried about him hitting free agency. So I think, whatever. There were two other really big signs that I'm going to pepper in here real quick. Florida extended Brad Marchand.
I saw that 6-year extension.
6 years.
6-year deal. That's wild. I mean,
something to that. To, like, why is it 6 years?
I don't know, because he's
old.
old.
You're right. Maybe it's like a Bobby Bonilla defer.
Yeah,
to allow you to add people.
Yeah.
Well, also, happy Bobby Bonilla Day to everyone
Happy
out
Bobby
there.
Bonilla Day.
Yes.
Yes.
Celebrate that. Cheers.
1.19 million. Is that what it is?
That
he gets
1.13. God,
I thought it was
damn, can you hear it?
1.19. Yeah, I can. It's on my side too.
Freaking Thor dropping his hammer.
Thunder. So Florida extends Brad Marchand to a surprising 6-year deal, and then they turn around and they sign Ekblad to an 8-year deal. That's crazy to me. But I mean, the returning cast for Florida next year is pretty much the exact same crew that we saw win the Cup this year. So they're all in for the three-peat, and seeing those signings reminded me of kind of like Michael Jordan in The Last Dance, where he's like, we won it. We have a right to stay together and defend it until we lose it, right? At the same time, it also kind of reminds me of kind of what Chicago did back when they had Kane, Taves, and that whole
Keith.
Yeah, Duncan Keith and that team. So I mean, you wonder, like, hopefully their farm system's solid and they're set up for long-term success past these like star players. And then the last one,
it makes sense. Like, it makes sense to do it, like, to sign all those guys, because, like, you look at other sports too. The Atlanta Braves did it after they won. They signed all their guys to long-term deals, but now we're looking at the Braves 3 years later, hovering around 500 balls. So, like, it's one of those things, like, it can be great and it can be, not so great.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, you just have to.
The Braves have had a rough history or rough injury stretch the last couple of years with Acuna. Albies has been hurt. He used to never get hurt.
Yeah, Albies.
Riley got hurt. He used to never get hurt. Right. The pitching. Spencer Strider tore Tommy John last year. Fried's gone. Schwellenbach, I think, just had to go under the knife.
No,
not Schwellenbach, a different one.
That's all part of it, right? You take the risk in getting these guys or whatever, and like an aging. I mean, those are all young guys for the Braves. It's just bad luck. But like an aging Florida team, however, why would you not do it?
Yeah, exactly, right.
I'd do that in a heartbeat.
And then the last big movement that I saw before we got on.
I had a big movement before we got on.
Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Good for you, dude.
Well, I'll try to do that one. Since we're making dirty jokes, I thought I would throw my hat in the ring.
You guys are making dirty jokes. I've made no such thing. The last big one was the Minnesota Wild trade for Vladimir Tarasenko from the Red Wings. I think that's my favorite transaction so far, and it's because Tarasenko has massive upside potential, and the Red Wings haven't been in a good spot for a couple years now. And like you see, like people will say, like, "Oh, Tarasenko, he's getting up there in age. What has he done for the NHL lately?" But like you could make the same argument. Like look at like Zach Parise, for example. Like the Wild have a way of like again, I think it's one of those things where you find your guy, and I think Tarasenko back when he played for the Blues was awesome. That's a guy who we've seen highlight reel finishes from. Plus, like Russian players know how to play hockey.
Well, it's one of those where it's like a low risk, high reward type of thing, right? Because like you said, Minnesota's already got like Kirill Kaprizov, and I believe they still have my boy Matt Zuccarello. They got some guys who can light it up. So you throw them in there, and hey, we could have a juggernaut of an offense if it pans out. If it not, whatever. I don't think they gave up much to get him. So it's
future
like
considerations. I think. Like it really wasn't anything.
It's one of those things like whatever, we'll take a flyer. Doesn't work, whatever, we'll cut him. Decides to go back to Russia, whatever. But if he stays and plays, we could have a heck of a scoring combo.
Yeah, no,
going
without a doubt. Yeah, so I'm pretty excited, but like that's kind of my exhale for hockey until next season. So I'm gonna be clinging to these free agency signings and these trades for as long as I can. But
cherish it.
Yeah, the sun's getting real low, big guy.
I also thought it was interesting. The Mitch Marner deal is an 8-year deal, but if he had hit free agency, he would have only been eligible to sign a 7-year deal.
Yeah.
So that was interesting that they got that done.
Yeah, so he's like 12.5 mil a year, something crazy like that. That's
wild. And remember, he was in Toronto where he was paying an exorbitant amount of taxes, and now he's in Vegas where he's not going to have income tax.
Yeah, now he's gonna have dollars instead of Canada.
Thank you.
Don't know what board game this came from, but it's a joke.
It's like you want us to make fun of you.
It's called a tie.
Your money all has Elton John on it.
It is also Canada Day, by the way, before you insult them.
We don't have a fan base in Canada. We got torn to shreds by a bunch of Canadian fans.
Torn to shreds.
They love us.
Got trolled.
They love us. It's mutual respect is what it is.
Hey, Canada, it's us again.
Give us strike
castles in the sand.
Yeah, rock your body till Canada Day. Is that Alan Thicke?
The robot.
Boy, strike two.
Strike two. Let's talk about baseball. Can we talk about baseball?
It's the Fanatic. I have to call him the Frenetic.
All right, I'm heading over to Cincinnati out there on the Kentucky-Ohio border. The Reds have been piping hot. They've won 6 of their last 7 series, and I believe this is like pretty much all to do with Terry Francona, because it is not a coincidence to me that he comes in and basically turns his team around. They've always been like had a few players, nice stories, Cincinnati, lovable, like cool ballpark. But Terry Francona comes in and basically did what he was doing with the Guardians.
And the Red Sox before that.
And the Red Sox, and made them relevant. And it took a while because new manager, new system, all that stuff. It's going to take a bit. But they're playing great baseball, and they're playing very complimentary baseball. If you look at their numbers, one, it starts with pitching. Andrew Abbott has been phenomenal.
Andrew Abbott from
UVA.
Thank you.
Hunter Green has been hurt, and they've been going on this run, which is pretty incredible. Nick Lodolo has been very, very good. They've kind of pieced together their starting staff with Abbott running the show, but they have been just playing complimentary baseball. They're hitting wise. Ellie De La Cruz is been phenomenal. He's a star. Other than that, they don't have anyone with more than 9 home runs on their team. Ellie De La Cruz has 18.
They probably have a bunch of guys who have like 8 home runs. Like everyone
they have 2 guys with 9, a guy with 8, a guy with 7, 2 guys with 6, 2 guys with 5, 2 guys with 4. Like they don't hit home runs, and the averages aren't like anything special either. But they are. But it's timely hitting. That's the biggest thing. And Spencer Steer, by the way, has been on a tear. He was the NL Player of the Week, Offensive Player of the Week. He was hitting over 500 with 3 home runs. All came in one game. But what I was impressed with him was I was watching their game the other night, and bottom of the 9th, Ellie De La Cruz on second, 1 out, Steers up. He has a 7-pitch at bat, wraps one right back up the middle, 1 hop to the center fielder. De La Cruz scores the tying run. I was like, that is someone who's locked in. Like, I know you have 3 home runs in a game, but that hit right there showed me that guy was locked in, and he's on fire right now. And then the next guy comes up, puts one into right field. Like they were just doing all these little things that are baseball winning plays, and it's Francona winning baseball is what it is.
Yeah. So you took my. I was going to bring up the Reds, but so thanks, boy. But yeah, for a lot of the reasons that you said, and my biggest thing was going to be about Terry Francona, because you're spot on. I don't think it's any coincidence. The biggest example I could give is during that Spencer Steers 3-home run game, I believe it happened Friday night. Pitcher Nick Martinez threw 8 no-hit innings. He took a no-hitter into the 9th. And so the story with that, though, goes back to Francona. So Martinez hadn't had a start in, I think, over a week. His last start got shelled, right? Francona came to him and said, hey, I want to try something with you. I want to put you in the bullpen for a few outings to try to like figure some things out, whatever, and then see, we're not demoting you to the bullpen. We're going to, help you figure some things out, maybe come back in the rotation, right? Martinez, to his credit, goes, all right, sure, Skip, no problem, I'll do it. First outing, perfect inning in relief. Next outing, perfect inning in relief. Martinez goes to Francona and says, hey, I know you wanted to put me back in the rotation. Can I stay in the bullpen for just one more outing? I think it's helping me. Francona, of course, why not? Pitches a perfect inning in relief against the Yankees in a win, right? So Tito throws him back out there for his next start, and that next start was when he pitched his best start of his career, taking a no-hitter into the 9th inning. I don't think there's any coincidence about that. It's managers like Terry Francona. The only thing that, for the most part, managers get judged by, right, is wins and losses, right? So that's the only stat you can look at. There's no stat or playbook that says what Francona did was what you're supposed to do. That's purely feel. That's a non-quantifiable thing that can only be quantified by that win-loss record.
Take that, right? Money ball.
Yeah. So things like that get overlooked so often in all sports, in all aspects of life. But that is a skill. Like it's a skill that you can't put a number on, right? But you have to give so much of the credit to Francona for what's transpiring and what's, I would think, going to happen.
By the way, did you see his new seat in the dugout?
Yes, from like a fishing
boat.
A boat.
Yeah, it's from a fishing boat.
That they jerry-rigged into it's hilarious.
Yeah, I love Terry Francona. But yeah, there's no coincidence that Francona's like that they're playing well because of him. Everything he's done. And what I love too is like one, that NL Central is rough, right? That is going to be a dogfight now. I don't think people were expecting Cincinnati to be in this. And 2, like Francona's going to have them playing and competing to the end. That team will not go away. They will only get better and better as the year goes on. Hopefully they get Hunter Green back after the All-Star break, and then you're really dangerous. But if you're a Cincinnati fan, have your slop of chili on your spaghetti
with the
3-way
cheddar cheese sprinkled on top.
You ever had Skyline chili there? Or I shouldn't say Skyline chili, Cincinnati chili.
Why can't you say Skyline chili? That's the name brand of it.
Because other places in Cincinnati do chili. It's not just Skyline.
Okay, fine. Since you're right, whatever.
But have you ever had Cincinnati chili there, Kamlo?
Yeah, not a fan.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I'll take it.
Not
I'll eat it.
Fan.
Well, Nick,
you gotta have to. What, you gonna say? You eat everything. You fat, slovenly slob.
I just wish that it wasn't on spaghetti.
Well, they've got some cinnamon in there.
Oh yeah, that cinnamon cuts through that little chocolate.
I wish that it was I would just much prefer chili mac.
Well, you have to come at it with an open mind of knowing that you're really not eating chili. You're eating some concoction that someone who was probably high.
This is
created.
Leftover. It's leftover day. It's a leftover day meal. I got this pasta that's been in the fridge for 5 days and chili that's been in the fridge for 6 days.
Chili. It's my.
What are we gonna do? Oh, you got chili in my spaghetti.
So I said you someone who was intoxicated, saw a bunch of crap in the fridge. So let me throw this together
on top of spaghetti with cheddar cheese, onion. That's a 4-way?
Yeah,
I'm just saying, open mind.
To quote Mike Tyson, we all do dumb shit when we're fucked up.
Thank you.
Do they put it on hot dogs?
I'm sure they do.
Spaghetti and chili on a hot dog?
Chili.
I mean, I'll eat a chili dog.
I feel like we had chili dogs in Cincinnati, right?
Gotta think.
I think we did. I
I
didn't
will
like their chili.
dominate a chili dog.
Yeah, good chili dog.
I don't care. Any chili
Not
dog.
you know.
Give me one off
It's
the
too
7-Eleven
Give me the hot
thin.
dog, baby.
Yeah, give him the
It's
hot dog.
too thin, right? The chili's too thin. It needs to be a little thicker.
All kinds of sauce. All
Yep.
kinds of numbers.
Yep, thank you.
Anyway, that was the second.
Strike 2. All right, I'll ring them up with strike 3 here.
Here we go.
Turning our attention to the realm of golf, the PGA and Live Tours both ended in playoffs this past week. I'm starting the PGA Tour. 20-year-old Aldrich Potgieter became the youngest South African ever to win on the PGA Tour when he defeated Max Grazerman in 5 playoff holes. Chris Kirk was also in that playoff, but he bowed out after the second playoff hole. And Potgieter claimed the Rocket Classic in Detroit. Potgieter is also the longest hitter on tour, averages like 324 off the tee.
I saw that.
He drained an 18-foot birdie putt to win the playoff on hole 15, and that's a hole he bogeyed during that final round and kind of relinquished his lead that he had going into it. So pretty impressive stuff from the young South African. On the Live Tour, Patrick Reed gave up a large lead on Sunday, but outlasted Louis Oosthuizen, Paul Casey, and Junichiro Kazuma in the first playoff hole to claim his first Live Golf victory at Live Golf Dallas. Also, with Sunday's results, Sergio Garcia, who played in every Open Championship from 1998 to 2022, will make his return to the final major of the year at Royal Portrush after being the highest-ranked Live golfer not already exempt into the tournament. I think in the Live Golf standings, he's like 5th or 6th. He was playing really well to start the year. Has not played well the last 2-3 months, but luckily his level up there, the points he earned, all the guys above him are already into the Open. So the Open, the RNA said that they'll take the highest ranked Live golfer who's not already exempt. So like either in the top 3, they would take them if they weren't already exempt, but then the next highest person, that happens to be Sergio. So good for him that we get to see him in another major.
Was this the tournament that Brooks Koepka wrecked that tee marker on?
Yes, and then with
That's
Drew,
the highlight there.
he didn't explode that as bad as Rory exploded that one. Where was that at Oakmont that Rory just demolished that one, just hammered away at it?
Yeah. Well, this one I think was worse because he launched it towards
people.
a fan and then withdrew because he was +7. If you haven't seen the clip, please turn to your monitors.
I saw it.
I got it pulled up.
I saw it.
Stevie, have you seen this?
He withdrew.
I saw it, but I want to see where it ends up because it
said because of illness.
Fan.
Yeah,
that like drills a fan.
it has to. Yeah, and then
That's a hell of a souvenir, by the way. I will take that souvenir all day.
Yeah.
What the hell is this you have on your wall? Brooks Koepka drilled me with a T marker.
Yeah. These are the stitches that I got.
Yeah, I had to
Ed got a snort.
shot.
Dude, you could tell like, he was looking at it after he spikes the club and he's thinking about it and he's like, fuck it, I'm withdrawing anyway.
It was listed officially that he withdrew because of illness. I know that
because you have to give you can't give I just don't feel like playing anymore.
For spite?
Yeah. You can't say like, I just don't have it today. You got to have a reason.
By the way, speaking of like temper tantrums, throwing like smashing shit, I was watching Wimbledon earlier, and they one of the guys was pissed off at like an unforced error or whatever he did, and he threw his hat, and the announcers made it very clear, like, oh, very smart of him to throw his hat and not smash the racket, because at Wimbledon apparently that's a hefty fine.
Oh yeah, because the
if you
ground
smash
is
your
so
racket.
immaculately kept that you're like destroying someone's life's work.
Yeah,
there on the ground.
It's hollowed ground. It'd be the same thing as like
Hallowed.
if you just hollowed. No, it's hollow underneath. That's why you can't destroy it. That's why you're not allowed to do it like at the Masters, right? Because there's tunnels and stuff underneath. You could cause a cave in.
Which do we have? The more you know from NBC, the Rainbow Children. Hey, Dad, I learned this the other day.
This is fun. We're having fun. Golf is fun.
An eagle for Quagmire.
Yeah. It was an accident. It's in Eagle for Quagmire. Yay, Quagmire.
Anything else before we move on? Okay. That's going to take us to our favorites segment, brought to you as always by One Legacy Title and Escrow in Jacksonville, Florida. Follow them on Instagram at One Legacy Florida and visit them at onelegacyflorida.com. to see how they can help you with your next house closing, one legacy title and escrow, because your legacy matters. And this week we went with our favorite current underrated baseball players. So basically the current players that we think are the most underrated that we really enjoy watching. And underrated, again, there's no quantifiable statistic to that, so that's all up for interpretation, however you choose to justify it. So who would like to start us off with their list?
I'll go because I have every confidence that I'm going to get shelled.
Let's just bring it on.
Guys
Bring the hot dog, baby.
You guys follow baseball more closely than I do.
Well, you got like 4 Baltimore. Yeah, don't tell me you have like Miguel Tejada and Cal Ripken on your stupid list of.
Well, I'm glad you bring it up because I went a different direction. No, I'm just gonna send it.
Jake Gibbons?
Out of respect, I'm not gonna do an honorable mention because I truly don't know like how baseball heads would quantify an underrated player. So I went with like
he gets on base. His
only defect is he throws from way down here. There you go.
I cannot be romantic about baseball.
Guys, look at your folders, or I'm gonna point at Pete again. All right, so number 5. I went with Willie Castro from the Twins. I picked him because it seems like he plays all over the place.
He does.
Yeah, like I think I've seen him play center field, shortstop, and second.
Former All-Star last year, I believe.
Yeah. And looked up his stats. He's hitting 267, 7 home runs, 20 ribbies, and 56 hits. But I feel like, like in a day and age when we're constantly talking about, wow, look at Shohei, 2-way player. This is incredible. I honestly feel like if we're going to value that, and obviously it's not an apples to apples comparison, but if we're going to value that, I feel like we need to give love to players who on any given night can go out and play anywhere, especially infield, outfield. And this Willie Castro plays almost anywhere in the infield except first. I don't think I've ever seen him play first, but I'm sure if you asked him to, he would. So I went Willie Castro at 5. I'm not getting laughed at, so I think I'm off to a good start.
That's a good pick. I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate the validation. I need it.
Only downhill from here, folks.
My self-esteem is shit.
Next person.
I hate myself. Number 4. I think this is where I think it's going to start here because we've talked about him quite a bit. I went with Brent Rooker. And
I hardly know her.
Picked Brent Rooker. I think I mostly picked him because he plays for the Athletics, and no one wants to talk about the Athletics because they're homeless. But I think this is a dude who's hitting for some serious power and quite frankly dead offense. Like it doesn't get I feel like it doesn't get talked about enough. He put up 30 home runs last year, and because it's the Athletics, he doesn't really get national attention. So I went with Brent Rooker, hardly know her.
I hope he gets traded.
I do too. I think that'd be great for him. Number 3, Ryan O'Hearn from the Baltimore Orioles. I think with the young core, right? Your Adleys, your Gunners, your Jacksons. I think Ryan O'Hearn frequently gets overlooked as a good DH/first baseman. He's hitting 295 on the season so far, 11 home runs, 30 RBIs, 71 hits. And he's just been, I think he's kind of reinvented himself since he's popped up in Baltimore. He's got some sneaky pop coming off his bat. And he's a key piece in that lineup. But he doesn't, and I can say this comfortably, he doesn't get talked about enough out of the Baltimore fan base and all the Camden chats. And
he will, because he will be traded here shortly, and he'll be a prize in the trade markets.
Yeah, I mean, because history has shown Baltimore are organ donors for the rest of the league.
Out of it, just dump,
easy.
Ship for parts and run.
Number 2, I'm on number 2, right? Yeah, number 2. I went with the closer out of Washington. I went with Kyle Finnegan. Stevie and I were talking about him a little bit before you hopped on, Nick, and before we started recording. Great closer for the year.
Flamethrower, I believe, right? Some gas coming out of his arm, right?
Yeah, he's got some gas. He's got a 1-2 record, 2.61 ERA, 25 strikeouts, 1.16 WHIP. And Stevie, you looked up his saves. What was it? 18 saves on the year.
Had a decent number last year too, I believe.
For a team that doesn't win games.
Yes.
For a team that doesn't,
That's really
so like,
good.
and I think that's another reason why he should be on at least on my list. That's why he's on there. He's quietly one of the more, if not one of the most reliable closers over the past 2 seasons, and he's dominating in a rebuilding market in Washington. So I think like it's good for him, and like we've all seen the impact and like the hype that a good closer can generate. Obviously, we've seen our fair share of awesome closers. I think Kyle Finnegan has the stuff to make it. And then number 1 overall, I went with the shortstop out of the Los Angeles Angels. I went with Zach Neto. Zach Neto's fun to watch. Dude.
Oh, it's fantastic.
When I was
He
making
almost cracked my list because of all the things you're probably about to say.
when I was making my list and like doing some research, because Nick, you said you wanted all of our stuff by Monday when we record on Tuesday, so it was just incentive for me to just get this done early. He's got some fun plays on defense there at shortstop. It's fun to watch. I enjoyed watching him, and like he gets overshadowed, I think, on that West Coast by Trout and Ohtani and like dysfunction within the Los Angeles Angels organization. But he's fun to watch. Quietly hitting 273, 12 home runs, 29 RBIs, and 68 hits on the year. I think he's going to be my big guy that I watched for the rest of the year. I know I was talking earlier about Denzel Clark. He is just a travesty to watch offensively.
It's like Willie Mays Hayes.
Yeah, he's like hitting. Yeah. You run
You
like
may
Hayes,
run like
He did.
however,
However,
but
shit.
you hit like shit. Yeah, he's hitting like 168 on the year.
Yeah, but he did, however, take Scooble dead center in Detroit somehow.
It's like a 430-foot
Yes,
home run.
I know. I was like, holy shit, in that ballpark.
Zach Neto too. I believe he went 20 this year.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
Zach Neto's. That's a really good one.
Zach Neto's it's a good one because he's a borderline a dude at this point.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
I like him.
I didn't get shelled at all.
I think this is really good, actually.
Let's go.
I think Zach should have probably been on mine, but
All right. Well, then I'll hang up and listen. Top that.
yeah, I'm gonna try to. All
Go
right,
ahead, boy.
number 5, Vinny Pasquantino, the
Ooh.
Pasquatch. By the way, do you know where he's from?
Richmond, Virginia.
Yes. Do you know what college he went to?
Old Dominion University.
Bingo. Well done. Yeah. The Pasquatch. If me and Colin were talking about it, if you play for Kansas City and your name's not Bobby Wood Jr., you're probably underrated because no one talks about you. Pasquatch has been quietly great for the last 3 years.
So I saw a thing too with him. The 2 hardest thrown pitches that Ohtani has registered were both to Vinny Pasquantino.
Yeah,
one during the World Baseball Classic when Pasquantino was on Team Italy, and then the other one the other night in KC.
Yeah. This poor guy.
To him.
That's pretty cool.
There's also that one pitch. I forget who threw it, but it was this nasty accidental knuckle slider thing that backed up and was so odd that Pasquantino swung through, and he's and it will always make its way circle around social media. One of the nastiest pitches you've ever seen because it was some accident. And he's and he always will comment on it and be to this day, I don't know what happened on this pitch. I don't know what it was, but it was the nastiest thing I've ever seen in my life.
That's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, Pasquatch. Also, when he hits a home run, they have a Sasquatch walking around the fountains, which is so great.
Which is hilarious.
Number 4, Jonathan Aranda, Tampa Bay. By the way, do you know he is 3rd in average?
Yeah, behind Jacob Wilson and Judge.
Yes.
Should have been the person to start the All-Star game, but because of the way MLB does their stuff.
I was thinking about bringing that up with the All-Star, but I was going to wait till maybe next week, but I don't know if we'll be on next week. But the All-Star game's a joke. But Jonathan Aranda for Tampa Bay. By the way, Tampa Bay are they tied with New York? One back?
Last I saw half game back, maybe
half game back.
That changed. I haven't looked today.
That's another
baseball.
Hey, you just never watch Tampa Bay.
Game back.
Okay. You just never watch Tampa Bay, but Jonathan Aranda can hit.
Yes,
At number 3, going out to the Arizona Diamondbacks, the shortstop, Geraldo Perdomo. He is great. His OPS is through the roof. He, by the way, is the number 22 ranked fantasy baseball player. That's incredible. to be a shortstop and to like his numbers won't wow you, but he does little things that make impacts, which is why his OPS is so high. Geraldo Perdomo playing with a Kettle One Martini over there up the middle. That's a fun Diamondbacks team. I need them to win more games. I like watching their team play. Carroll, Kettle One Martini, Perdomo.
They got some dudes.
Yeah, I like that team. Number 2, going back to Kansas City, Maikel Garcia.
Yeah,
He's
he's
another
hit
guy
like
that can
320.
play. Yeah, yes, and he's a speedster. He is electric to watch. Again, we always talk about Bobby Witt Jr. Maikel Garcia can fly too. That's a guy that you can play at any position. He's been playing third base pretty much this whole season, but he's played some short, played some second. Maikel Garcia is a fun watch. And number 1, how about Jung-Hoo Lee in San Francisco?
He's good.
I can watch him play center field all day. If you're a kid learning about the game of baseball and learning about how the outfield works, I would say watch Jung-Hoo Lee. That guy he takes the perfect routes. He's in the right position every time, and he glides. He is so smooth. When you're going to track a baseball, you better run on your toes. Otherwise, the ball bounces on you. Jung-Hoo Lee is like the perfect definition of how like steady you need to be to track a baseball. I could watch him play center field all day.
He also always slaps a good at bat on you.
Yes, he does. Tough at bat every time. And whether he'll bounce around the order, they kind of bat him first to fourth.
But normally he's your leadoff man.
I personally, he would be my leadoff guy every time. I at bat all the time, and he's a baseball player to me. That's what he is.
Yeah, I like that.
Listen.
All right, my list actually has some more guys that you would consider names, but that like would stand out to baseball fans, but not the casual fans. So number 5, like Kamo said, Brent Rooker. I hardly know her. I believe back-to-back 30 home run seasons. I think he was the SEC Player of the Year at Mississippi State.
Is that when they won the national championship?
I think it was before then. Actually, definitely was before then.
Definitely before then, because
Brent Rooker is a great hitter. He is a bona fide major league slugger. He really is. Like you said, Kamala doesn't get any attention because he's played for the A's, and the A's, while they did have a decent start to the year, have fallen back to what people thought they would be, and are pretty much out of contention at this point. 17 games, probably under 500 they are. But Brent Rooker is a real deal hitter, and if he does get traded, which I actually don't think he will because he signed a long-term deal with them. I believe the A's are trying to make him one of their cornerstones for when they move to Vegas. So I don't think he'll get traded, and I think that's why he didn't get traded last year as well. But if he does get traded, that's a big impact.
So the A's actually have a long-term plan.
Yeah. So to digress here, it seems as though their owner purposefully didn't spend money to make them bad, so that they'd have to move. He could justify moving and save the money. But there's a thing where you have to spend a certain amount of money. It's in like the MLB PA.
Oh, kind of like how
CBA.
Joe Harris made his money in.
Yes, like you have to spend a certain amount of money to show that you're trying, or else you could get a grievance filed against you by the Players Association. And so this year, that's why in the offseason they signed Rooker to a decently large deal, and they signed Luis Severino to a large deal, and I thought they signed one other person, so they had to do those to make
Severino has been apparently horrendous.
He stinks. He stinks anyway. But that's why they gave those deals to those guys to show that they were like trying, so they wouldn't get a grievance, because they were trying to keep that money to help them pay for the stadium and the move to Vegas, right? But I believe Rooker is, because of that deal, looked upon as like one of the cornerstones they want to take with them to Vegas. But you never know. Like they could easily say, "Oh, we signed him to the deal to do this, but we don't want to pay him still because we want to hoard the money and ship him off."
Well, right? I could also see a team in contention saying we need a big bat in the middle to push us over the edge and to win a World Series. Like we'll give you a lot to go get him.
Yeah,
I mean, I would.
Yeah.
If I'm going, like baseball is one of those like, I don't know, it's one of those games where you got to go all in for your one World Series shot, and if you're able to get it, then you do it. Like it's
Because
so hard.
not everyone's the Dodgers and can just always
Right.
be competitive, right? Because they
Right.
just
If you
have
have
an
if you
infinite
have
amount
the
of money.
makeup, if you have the makeup to do it that year and you really feel like you need to do it, go take the risk and do it. And if you suck the next 2 years, you suck the next 2 years. You walk it off, whatever.
Yeah. Speaking of the Dodgers, number 4, Teoscar Hernandez, who has been
You love
I
Teoscar.
love his swing
Yes, you
because
do.
he drives the ball, and his swing is short, quick, and it's level. And that allows him to hit the ball with power to all fields, and that allows him to hit all types of pitchers too. So you can't just pitch him one way. But Teoscar Hernandez has been so impactful for LA that last year without him, who knows where they would have been. Even so, this year he's not having as good of a year as he did last year. He's still so important to that lineup. I always thought he was great in Toronto, underrated there. They shipped him over to Seattle, right? Overlooked. Yeah, I'm a big Teoscar Hernandez fan. He's starting to not be underrated anymore because of where he plays in LA, and because people are starting to recognize it, especially after last year when he won the home run derby, which I did call, by the way.
Yes, you did.
Yes, you did. Probably could have.
But I still think
bringing it up.
I still think on some levels, or a lot of levels, he's still underappreciated and underrated. But one more year of what he's been doing, and I think that goes away. He's a tentative pick there, but he's at number 4. Number 3 is Kyle Tucker, who
I thought about it. I
is-
thought about putting him on there. Yeah.
he still is underrated. And,
I believe
it's
number
helping that
2 ranked player in fantasy baseball.
it's
actually.
helping now more that he plays in Chicago for the Cubs, who are such a knowledgeable fan base. I mean, truly, he's a right fielder, right? Truly, if you take away Aaron Judge, is there a better right fielder in the world than Kyle Tucker?
No.
There may not be. He
No.
legitimately, in a lot of ways, is the second best right fielder in the world.
He's the number 4 ranked fantasy baseball player right now.
We're talking about a guy who pretty much every year is going 30-30 or at least close to it, right? He's hitting for a high average. You can't pitch him one way, just like Teoscar. You have to pitch him a whole different ways. He sprays the ball around. No batting gloves, by the way, which is
something you love.
Which is a plus. Plays great defense. So underrated, in my opinion, that even baseball fans don't know that much about Kyle Tucker, which is crazy to me. I believe his brother was Preston Tucker, who I used to like as well.
Okay.
Who,
yeah.
For whatever reason, got run out of the majors, went and played over in Korea. I used to like Preston Tucker.
Yeah, it's kind of it is funny because I thought about putting Kyle Tucker on there as well, and how underrated he was for Astros teams that were going to World Series constantly.
Yes,
and you would just for some reason he just never was the guy people would talk about.
No, they would go
He's the best player on the team.
Bregman, Jordan. Oh, and then our best player, or they would say Framber and. Oh, you're right. Yeah, and even now with the Cubs, who's the first person the Cubs bring up is PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong. It's not. He's been great, but Tucker has been arguably better because that's just how good Kyle Tucker is, and it's amazing that he doesn't get the recognition. It's still right. It's crazy, but yeah, arguably the second best right fielder in the world right now. Number 2 is Logan Webb of the Giants. Logan Webb is a bona fide ace. Like He's been a top 10 pitcher in the league for 3, 4, 5 years now at this point. He's an innings eater. He always gives you quality starts, and he throws the nastiest sinker in the world right now. And it's been that way. It's so heavy. It moves so much. It's so late. But because he doesn't light up the radar gun, no one cares, right? Because it's only 92 miles an hour. But Logan Webb, like I said, is a legitimate number 1 on pretty much any team in the league. There's probably only 5 teams. He's legitimately that good. If you look up his stats and his track record, it's consistent. He pitches a lot of innings. You know what he's going to get. He's going 7 innings every start, right? He's going to throw strikes. He's going to come at you. He's not going to get rattled. And he is so good. He's a guy who should be getting Cy Young votes every year. And he's the guy who should always be in the conversation to start the All-Star game. But he never is because there's always someone flashier than him. And because he plays for the Giants, who have been so inconsistent the last few years. But he
is third in strikeouts in the NL. Let's see, what is he in? ERA.
He throws a lot of
Is
innings.
Fifth in ERA.
And this is what he's been, though, for the last several years.
Innings pitched, he's won.
Exactly. This is what he's been.
Number two is Paul Skeens.
This is what he's been the last few years, but he's still, no one will, like, again, even baseball fans, you say Logan Webb, like, who's that guy, right? Logan Webb, legit stud. And number one is Jose Ramirez. Arguably
I thought about that too.
Most underrated, he is the most underrated player of this generation. He's one of the most underrated players ever. He is a true first ballot Hall of Famer. He may go down as the best player in Cleveland franchise history, legitimately. Like, that's not that hyperbolic to think about. If he continues and spends the rest of his career there, he may go down as the best player they've ever had. Like,
because he would have spent his entire
career there. Up there, the next closest people, right? You got those your Tomeys of the world, right? Who didn't spend all that time there. But Nap Lajoie is the guy who gets brought up, who is arguably one of the greatest second basemen ever. Him and Rogers Hornsby get talked about. But Nap Lajoie played like 120 years ago. Like Jose Ramirez, at the end of the day, if he stays with Cleveland, is going to finish his career as the greatest, if not Mount Rushmore level great for Cleveland. He's, again, like I said, true first ballot Hall of Famer. He is 30-30 every year. He has carried that franchise offensively for his entire career. And we've talked about this with Aaron Judge about like not having people around him, all this stuff. Ramirez has had way less around him than Judge has had for his career, but yet still always puts up 270, 30, and 30, 100 RBIs every year. Switch hitting, playing third base every day as well. It's crazy to me that he's still not talked about as one of the best players in the league. Like yes, baseball people know of him now and recognize his greatness, but it's overdue. And he's still, he is, I don't think it's crazy to think of him as a top 5 player, but he still will never be counted as that because he's not big. Right? He doesn't hit the ball, like his exit velo is off the charts, right?
I also love the fact that he's 5'10", if 200 pounds. Kind of doesn't look like he's in the best of shape, but he can fly because he steals like 30 plus bags a year.
He's also not the fastest guy either, though. He's fast enough, though.
But he's a smart baseball player, and he packs
good.
a huge lip. And the dude goes out there and he plays baseball as old school, baby.
Huge lip.
Yeah, you could drop this dude in the 90s and just like, God,
he's so good. And the neck on him when he came up and everything was, not big enough, not the measurables.
It's always that.
He's on a nice run. And for whatever reason, even though he has proven that doesn't matter with him and it doesn't, literally like over a decade proven that, it still feels like that is hindering him for how people view him. But this dude, again, true first ballot Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. He really will be. He will have the counting statistics. He'll have the peak year statistics. He'll have the all-star nods. He'll have the MVP finishes, or at least should have. I mean, he probably is never going to win an MVP because of Judge and people in like the Bobby Woods of the world. But he's a guy who should be top 5 in MVP voting every single year he plays, and he might be.
Stats. Is he gonna get
phenomenal?
What's his? I want to see his kind of like project out a little bit what he's gonna have, because I think he's got. Let's see, he's a career 280 hitter. He's got 264 stolen bases on his career already.
No, I mean he's probably gonna
1,600 hits. He's gonna finish 350, 2,500 probably, right? 350 home runs.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have over 300 homers, over 300 steals for his career. I mean,
Jesus.
Golly. It sounds like a semi going through.
By the hammer of Thor.
Never heard of a semi-tractor trailer. No, so criminally underrated in the annals of baseball.
I would agree with that. Yes, he's maybe he's up there with Chipper as the switch hitting third baseman.
I mean, he'll go down as one of the best switch hitters ever. So good, yet he still doesn't get his due for whatever reason.
Yeah, I thought those two. It is funny because I thought about doing Tucker and Jose Ramirez. I had a feeling you were going to do it, so I went different direction. But I was thinking the exact same thing.
I almost put Zach Neto like Kamala did. Josh Naylor, I hardly know her.
He was very close to putting.
He was close to mine as well. Happy Canada Day to the Nailers, by the way.
Rock your body, Canada.
Anything else before we move on?
Sand castles in the sand.
So that's going to take us to our last segment, which is what to look for this coming week in sports. Brought to you as always by VB Cookie Co. Looking for the perfect way to stand out at the next event you are hosting? Well, custom cookies are a timeless way to have everyone still buzzing even after they leave. Look no further for your cookie needs than VB Cookie Co. Follow them on Instagram at VB Cookie Co. and message them to order yours today. Whether it is a bridal shower, birthday, engagement, or baby shower, their team will work with you to make all your cookie dreams come true. VB Cookie Co. for the sweetest moments. Who's got something to look for?
Gold Cup. Gold Cup. We have the USA versus Guatemala and Mexico versus Honduras in the semifinals of Gold Cup. This is a big deal because we're closer to the end of FIFA World Cup qualifiers, and tournaments like Gold Cup have implications for teams. Now, the USA won their quarterfinal match against Costa Rica in penalties, where goalie Matt Freese went off for 3 saves during the penalty shootout, which was
looking
awesome.
like Callie Brown out there.
Yeah, it was
Loudoun
County High School. No, it was cool, and like the dude was pretty chill about it afterwards. I don't know if you saw his interview, but he was like, penalty kicks just make sense to me, man. Like, so I'm excited to see how Gold Cup wraps up. And it's a good peep at what we can expect from our national team come World Cup time, right? This is going to be like the last real test to see how they can mesh and meld and perform as a team.
Especially because we're already qualified as the host nation, so the qualifying isn't going to mean as much.
The only team that I think would be acceptable to lose to in this would be Mexico, because CONCACAF and Gold Cup are pretty much designed to see USA, Mexico, and Canada like win, right? And we have USA on one side of the semifinals and Mexico on the other. Anything but a USA-Mexico finale, I think, would shock fans in North and Central America. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm excited to get some Gold Cup action this weekend. We got the semifinals on tomorrow when this debuts, and then the finals, I believe, are scheduled for the 6th, July 6th. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Okay, boy.
How about the Fortnite over there across the pond in Wimbledon?
You play Fortnite?
No. A fortnight means 2 weeks, by the way. If you did not know that.
The more
Wimbledon
you
last
know.
Fortnite, Ted.
The more you know. Yeah, Wimbledon just started, and it will be going for until the July 13th, I believe.
I thought it was the 16th, but there's 7.
No, it's 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks. Started yesterday.
What for you?
July 13th. Yeah, July 13th. So I always feel like every time it's always on over like July 4th weekend, and I always feel almost un-American watching it.
Yeah.
So I'll probably skip that day and watch some baseball. But other than that, over the next 2 weeks, yeah, watch Wimbledon. I feel like it feels like the Augusta of tennis.
It is. It's that same mystique of, like I said, hollowed ground.
There you go.
Sorry.
Thank you for getting it right.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it kicked off. Already had a historic start to it. Of the top 10 seeded players from both the men's and women's, right? You're thinking your top 20 players.
Goff got swept.
Yeah,
Pegula got swept.
Eight of them. As it stands now, I don't know how Djokovic's match ended up, but as it stood now, 8 of the top 20, so 4 of the top 10 on each side are out after the first round. It's the most they've ever had in the Open era. Like you boys said, Coco and Pegula, who were seeded 2 and 3 respectively.
I watched that.
They got smoked in their first round matches. It's
I
the
watched
first
that
time in
match. Threw in the towel.
Yeah, Pegula hasn't. She had her breakout in one of the majors recently, where she got far.
Third ranked girl,
but outside of that breakout that she had at that Grand Slam, I want to say it might have been the U.S. Open last year. She's really struggled in majors. But with Coco and Pegula both being knocked out, it's the first time in the Open era on the women's side that 2 of the top 3 seeds are gone after the first round of a major.
Yeah, it's crazy. This is like the insane March Madness
Yes.
years you
I
have.
mean, and
where-
because it's not just those top 10 players too. Like, on the women's side, Muhova 15 is out. The men's side, who is it? Number 16 is gone. I forgot who. Sarundalo was out as well. Tons of ranked ranked players or seeded players are out on both sides, and it points to a couple things. One, it's parity. There's a lot of parity across the board.
The dynasty years are over, right? The one man or woman running the show is over. Now everybody's caught up. Like they've retired, and now everyone is condensed.
Yeah, it's the hottest opening day of Wimbledon on record.
91.
Yeah, which is
Fans looked miserable.
blistering for them over there. Even though their humidity was like 40-50%, which we would pay a lot of money for that. Still, when you're not used to it, you've never lived it.
The queen.
It's a king now, by the way.
It's not the popular phrase.
Okay. But
keep calm and get fired up.
Live,
and you do whatever you like. Live. What I would do, I'd go out to the parking lot. I'd hide. I'd wait for the ref to come out.
Yeah, they got a new nickname for me.
What is it?
Wanker. I think it means great.
It does mean great.
It's like a great guy.
Yeah. He likes to be alone with his thoughts.
As a show of solidarity, I went a whole day without using my hands.
At Wimbledon has got some crazy stuff, but I think that the parity is real. Like you said, we're outside of the era where you're going to have a couple people just straight up dominate and run things. Because like when you think about it, during those times, Serena, Federer, Djokovic, Nadal, and we'll throw Andy Murray in there because Andy Murray, if he hadn't gotten hurt, when he was healthy, he was just as dominant as those other three guys. He really was. Those guys would go to these Grand Slams, and they were playing some legit dudes, right? And they wouldn't drop a set until they got to like the semis. And it was like routine, right? Quarters, semis, they wouldn't drop a set yet. And they were just smoking people like it was effortless. And you're not seeing, even Alcaraz struggled in his opening round match, right? They had to go to 5 sets to win it, right? Taylor Fritz, highest seeded American man, dropped his first 2 sets where it was able to come back. That was on a continuation. He had to finish the next day. So, yeah, you're seeing that there's a lot of parity. Like if you're ranked 30, you easily in 2 weeks could be ranked like 15th. So when you're that 30th ranked player, like I think it was Alex Mickelson on the men's side and another American, he lost his opening match in a 5th set tiebreak. But the guy who's playing is like ranked 47th or something like that. So 30th playing 47th, that's not really an upset.
Right.
But it used to be that was a pretty big distinction. It's not anymore. Everyone is so close in the rankings and points wise. The guy, I don't know if you saw this, the guy Fritz beat, Giovanni Pecci Pericard, a Frenchman. This dude looks like he belongs playing left tackle for an NFL team. He's 6'8", but he's not like a lanky. He's not like a lanky 6'8". He is like a log-legged, like just big 6'8". He is the hardest server in the world right now. Arguably the hardest server ever because he just set the Wimbledon record for the hardest serve ever. 153 miles an hour.
153,
and he lost the point because Fritz got it back to him. They got in a rally, and Fritz hit a winner.
How do you return that?
Just literally stick your racket out there and let it hit it. That's what you just punch it. Like stick your racket there, let it hit it, and it flies back, and you're in the point. But 153 miles an hour, yeah, right. And that's why I went to a 5th set because he doesn't drop his serve because he hits the ball so damn hard. But the thing about that, that's a draw that the 5th ranked player got in the first round. Right, there's so much deep talent on both the men's and women's side. That's why you're seeing, I think, so many of these upsets. You stole mine. I was going to go with Wimbledon. Thank you. So what I'll go with, I believe this weekend is the NASCAR Chicago, the street race they do, which is really cool. You get a chance to watch it. They introduced it a couple years ago to great, like, rave reviews. Road races are always better for the casual fan because
turn left.
Yep. Go in a circle. It eliminates that. Having that road race in Chicago, that should be cool to watch. I believe that is this weekend. Anything else before we wrap this up?
Nope.
So that's going to do us for us here on What Caught My Eye, or WCME Sports. As always, before we sign off, don't forget to follow us on all of our social media. That's on X, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, TikTok. Snapchat, and Threads at WCME_sports. Our episodes drop every Wednesday at noon on Spotify, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. And be on the lookout for our companion podcasts, WCME Golf, Soccer, and Hockey and Basketball. Sorry. Again, all that information can be found on our website, WCMEsports.com. For the man, Stephen Comlo, and the boy, Stephen Vesci, I am the coach, Nick Vesci, reminding you to be decent to each other, have a good one, and we will see you next time. Take care, Guatemala. Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July.